Wanted this job bad. Place has been kicked, it's been battered, it's been bruised, and I can sit up here and give you coach speak all day long. Knock us down, we're going to get up, and on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to...
We the Detroit Lions. We the Detroit Lions. Stop playing with us.
Y'all give me a chance to showcase what I can do when they try to bury me, dog. But they can't bury what comes from the dirt.
They grab first down. That's gonna do it. That's gonna do it. That's gonna do it. Jared Goff delivers it to Detroit. Stand up. You waited for this. The Lions won again. You know, the Lions won again.
I wanted this job.
What up, Go Lions? Welcome to Motor City Ball Knowers, episode 5. The Lions won again, and the Pistons won again. I'm going to kick it off with a little Pistons man. But what up, Scotty and Hesser? How you doing?
What's up, boys? It's fitting, episode 5, the day after Cinco de Mayo. So happy belated Cinco de Mayo. We're one day behind it, but it's fitting, yeah, episode 5. And we're excited to be back. Fired up to talk a little draft, post-mortem draft.
Let's go, boys. And producer Tim, shout out for the intro music. I don't think we've even done that yet, but man, that gets me fired up. I will say the Amik, bury me in the dirt.
Yeah.
Such a good quote. Gonna miss Amik a lot. His sound bites were so good.
I know. I loved him in the locker room and on the field.
Yeah.
But
that was after the week 18 when he locked down Jefferson, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
that was a great one.
That was awesome.
Bro,
awesome.
They go back to high school. They played against each other, and I think Amik gets the final word there for sure.
We wish Amik well. He got a bag. Hopefully, hopefully he does well. But Tim, take the floor, man. Pistons, Eastern Conference semis, up 1-0. How we feeling?
Yeah, very grateful to be the resident Pistons man. I know we're all ball knowers and ball lovers of all 4 major sports and then some, but holy cow, we're witnessing modern Detroit Pistons NBA history because we took care of biz, took the Magic to 7, came back from 3-1, repeat of 0-3 against a tough Magic team. They were not a joke. They wanted the smoke, and they got it. We got it too, but the team that we watched, like, put the NBA on notice all year, showed up in game 6 and 7, closed it out. Was really happy to see Jalen Duren show up in game 7. Oscar Thompson is a problem. That's just what it is. And
He's
Cunningham,
ridiculous.
He's ridiculous. And Cade Cunningham was the best player in the series, and he showed it. So really happy with that closeout. Really, honestly, blown away by the game 1 performance. I don't know if you guys watched the game last night, but
oh yeah,
they were firing on all cylinders. And I don't want to repeat 97-1 talking points, but it was a good point. Role players showed up.
They did, and that's huge. And I didn't even realize last night Cade didn't shoot the ball that well from the field, and to still come out of there with the dub is huge. And I was a little, and I still am. I think Cleveland's really good, and I think this is gonna be another tough series. But the matchup against the Magic, obviously, it was just tough. It's a tough matchup. They had guys to neutralize our guys, play a similar style of ball. We really kind of bullied the Cavs last night, and you already got Donovan Mitchell jockeying for calls. Cry boy Donovan Mitchell.
Cry boy.
That was awesome. They're two bigs. I mean, Allen and Mobley are problems, and Allen did not play well last night. I suspect
got him into early foul trouble. I think he had 3 fouls in the first, which
I think tomorrow definitely gonna expect a little bit tighter game, but it was that first quarter, going up 16 or 18 or whatever it was, kind of ended up being the difference. So it was nice to see us be on the other side of that versus having to claw our way back like we did a couple times against the Magic.
Yeah. You'll be surprised to know I did watch most of that Pistons game last night. The Tigers were an afterthought. post.
Dude, Valdez, what's up with your boy Valdez, Scott?
Fromber. Yeah, that's just another. He's a notorious asshole. Like he crossed up his own catcher last year, like on purpose, threw the wrong pitch to like prove a point. Yeah, so 6-game suspension. We got Scooble down for who knows how long. Times are not looking great there at Comerica Park. Also, the Toledo Mudhens manager got like abruptly fired today for like a behavioral issue, something. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened there. I'm sure we'll find out more eventually. Yeah, Gabe Alvarez, I think is his name. He was like an up and comer. I think he was at Erie, got promoted up to Toledo. He's like looked at as a really like sharp young manager. Probably was going to get an MLB shot at some point.
Wow,
not with Detroit, but
big loss.
Yeah, just some weird things going on with the Tigers, a lot of injuries, but no, let's focus on the Pistons and obviously our upcoming talks here with the Lions stuff.
Can we give a little Country Day Lax shout out too? My boys.
Hell yeah.
Country Day Lax shout out.
12-1, playing well. Tough weekend down in Indy. The first loss of the season against a really good Carmel team. Coming off of that, boys are very, very, very focused. Last few days of practice. We're home stretch. Playoff brackets just got announced. We kind of know our path, and we got a couple regular season games left before we make the playoff push. So fired up for that.
That's what's up.
JD, you had brought up how in order to receive Detroit Country Day lacrosse merchandise, you have to attend a game, which, hey, I was living out of state for a couple of years. I was never able to attend any or, previous year's coaching stops, any of those games to get the merch. But I've been to not one, but now two games.
You have, and I have merch.
Ready for me? It's all right. That's huge.
Yep. Yeah. I have merch for you. We will get you fitted, but we're,
I need it for the playoffs. Playoffs.
Yes, we need you nice and fitted up and swagged out for the playoff run too.
We love merch, and while we're on that, want to give a few shout outs. First, I want to give a shout out to my Uncle Tom Christensen in Fargo, North Dakota, who's a subscriber and follower of the Motor City Ball Knowers. Thanks for listening.
Shout out Uncle T.
Also want to shout out Nick Vick, who asked when the Motor City Nick Vick is a great golfer and a friend of ours. He asked when the Motor City Ball Knower merch is coming out, which I thought was an exciting question.
Yeah.
And lastly, I want to give a shout out to Valley, who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, but he's a fellow Motor City Sports podcaster at the Buffed Up. So we want to give a shout out to the Buffed Up Pistons podcast. And
all right. Yeah. Buffed Up. Subscribe. MCBK family, let's subscribe and support our fellow podcasters here.
So heard a lot about you, Valley, and you put out some exciting content.
Let's go, Valley. Shout out, Valley.
But we got a great show tonight because the Lions have drafted again. So Scotty, Hesser, let's get your thoughts.
Where do we want to start? Do we want to go right into Blake Miller? I want to close the loop on one thing that's just kind of a larger, bigger picture Holmes thing. And I think I've belabored this point enough when it comes to just generally how he approaches the draft. And again, I kind of want to put a closing notch on it. And I had this thought, it kind of dawned on me maybe earlier this week, late last week. I don't remember when, but I was just looking at the way that Brad Holmes' career has like ascended to where he is now, obviously being one of the 32 GMs in this league, which is a very prestigious role. You don't get there by luck or happenstance. You get there by earning it, right? And I do want to give Holmes those flowers, right? He was a very good scout talent evaluator, right? The thing there where I do want to take exception with, where I don't think the part of his job that I think he's falling short on and will continue to do so unless he makes changes is the asset management part. So as a GM, it's not just about talent evaluation. It's about how you manage your assets. That's like the other side of the coin. And I think Holmes leaves a lot to be desired there. I just wanted to make that general point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's well documented your stance on that offline. Now all the listeners know. And yeah, I mean, it's fair, right? Like 14 trade ups to 3 trade downs now, I think, after this draft. And it's fair. Like he doesn't, it seems as though he doesn't value, having a ton of picks versus packaging picks and going and getting guys that he feels like he must have. And he's come out and said that, he's said it multiple times that there are certain players in previous drafts where he wakes up that day and is like, I need this guy on our roster. And, those guys in particular haven't quite panned out. It seems like Manu was one who we've talked about a lot. Broderick Martin, Sione Vaki, who is a great special teams player, but that's, 4th round pick. I think, Scott, it's a fair point. I'm personally less concerned about the asset management and more just concerned about get good players on the roster and win games, which I think he's done a very good job of. But we had that conversation last episode on hitting more doubles. What you said, Scott, which really resonated with me, is hitting more doubles, not always having to hit the home run. We feel like he's hit a lot of home runs with these draft picks, and he's swung and missed on quite a few as well. And there hasn't really been that kind of in between, like, let's just get some solid dudes on this team that we're not going to have to pay top dollar for, but are going to help us win games. And I think that's a good path into this draft, because I think, Scott, you and I both feel that there's a few potential doubles, maybe even triples, that he snagged here. And I think for the most part, we're kind of in lockstep on a lot of these guys. So tell us a little bit about Blake Miller. You shouted out Blake Miller on our.
Can I pipe in on this real quick? Quick, because Scotty, I want to say you kind of got into me on this. As I was watching the draft, and I was getting texts from the group chats like, "Oh yeah, we got a guy to fill edge, we got a guy to fill tackle." After our mock draft we did, I was just thinking this is classic Brad Holmes, right? It was classic, not maybe necessarily taking advantage of the moment, but being fixated on his guys, not trading down, not, and I'll be honest, after our talk, I wasn't as hype. I'm going to be honest, but it could be very preliminary.
Well, it's funny. It all kind of comes full circle when you misuse assets and the needs emerge. Mr. I don't draft for need suddenly has to draft for need. So I thought that was kind of my first takeaway was, hey, look, there were some pretty glaring holes here. And I think the draft board, the way that the prospects, the depth was kind of at offensive tackle, especially in that first round. There was like that group of 7 that we discussed that all kind of were first round guys there. And then the edges, there was like 11 or 12 that were all like the depth was there at edge. So,
but isn't that like, Scott, wouldn't you define that like as growth though? Like Mr. I don't draft for need had to draft for need. Mr. I don't draft for need could have continued to not draft for need, but did. And I feel like
it's a little tongue in cheek. It's a little tongue in cheek. I think it's, of course, if you have a roster that's stacked and is deep in all sorts of places, you can kind of get cute and get like, I'm just going to go out and grab Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell. You do those types of things a few years ago, and it was different situations. They were still kind of on the ascent at that point. Now, again, I think there were some holes.
But like then again, sorry, I'm just gonna like cut in.
No.
Like with the Jack Campbell pick, like thank God they didn't draft for need. That was a year where they needed corner, and I'm gonna shout out Colton Pouncey. I'm taking this from one of his podcasts. But aren't you glad that they took Jack Campbell instead of Deonte Banks, the cornerback, who I think the Giants ended up taking, who sucks? Like, I just think I think again, I'm gonna go back to the way that I think, in my opinion, is I don't really care about the assets so much as more I care about drafting and getting good players on this roster by whatever means necessary. And yes, he pigeonholed himself this year, especially into having to take certain positions. And I think we'll go through after this episode, like a full-fledged roster, like depth chart, everything. But I feel pretty damn good about where they sit right now today on May 6th.
I do too. I do too. I was saying, back on episode 2 or episode 3, post free agency, I said, hey, I love the youth movement we put together. I see, you didn't hand out a ton of multi-year deals. I think you only handed out one, Cade Mays. So you're not really putting yourself into any sort of long-term, lack of flexibility. I thought this offseason was for all intents and purposes a really hey, changing of the guard. We've discussed a lot of those guys who have been the leaders, the foundational pieces for this era, this regime, right? Are gone. A lot of these guys like Anzalone. I mean, Khalif Raymond was there from the beginning, 2021.
Yeah.
He was signed on for one of the first free agent signings of the Holmes and Campbell era. It was Khalif Raymond.
Yeah.
So a lot of those guys moving on. Yeah, and
I got a good shout out Jeremy Reisman, one of your boys, Scott. He had a good one today. This is on X, formerly known as Twitter.
The everything app.
So yeah, some interesting Lions free agency facts. Only one signing/re-signing averaged more than $5 million a year, Cade Mays. 4 players they lost in free agency signed deals of more than $5 million. Detroit only handed out 1 contract for 2 or more years, also Cade Mays. 7 players they lost signed multi-year deals. So that supports what you were just saying.
For sure. And it's interesting. Yeah. So I'm trying to go through it quickly in my head. It would be Anzalone, Amik, DJ Reader didn't sign a multi-year deal, did he?
He did with the Giants. Yeah.
They gave him multiple years?
2 years, 12 mil, I think. It's like $6 million a year.
I mean, when he's healthy, he's a beast. But yeah, so it makes sense, and it's the way the roster stands. I feel like we're in a good spot. I think the draft did exactly what we kind of needed them to do, and from our last episode, I think we talked through a lot of these guys and different. Unfortunately, we didn't get to cover Derek Moore, which I know we'll get to after discussing Blake Miller. But we went through the top 11 edges, and I think Derek Moore was number 12 on that list. That we can't unfortunately cover everybody. That was already a long episode as is, our longest one by far. So
the mega episode.
We'll get into it today, though. I think now that we know the guys, we can talk about their fits. We can talk about, hey, what do they project to be here in Detroit? I think it's a fun episode. I think we should really dig in and really get in on at least the top 2 guys, because 4th rounds and beyond can be a little, who even knows what kind of impact they're going to make. It's like special teams if they end up being a 4-year special teams guy, like that's kind of a win.
So especially this draft, from what it seems like, which was pretty unanimously weak, like really after the 3rd round.
I think there was like a bulk of depends on how teams evaluated, but I think it was like between 70 and 90 guys that were like, okay, these are NFL guys, and then the rest is like not too much. And you'll notice that the trades this year, teams were extremely, and this was reported by all the big people, teams were extremely reluctant to give up 2027 capital.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you, how they felt about this current draft class and next year's too. So I think we should just get into it with Blake Miller. We spoke, I think the way the board felt, it bothered me. I will say the draft pick of Blake Miller at 17 was great. We stood pat. I hate the reports that have been coming out that Holmes was working the phones trying to trade up. If they would have traded up for Blake Miller, this would be a different tone coming out of me right now. And it does bother me, though, just that these reports are coming out that Holmes was trying to move up. That's what he got.
But how legit are those reports? Like, we also
I think he admitted it.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I'm pretty sure he essentially.
I was just gonna say that there's all the reports that Caden Proctor was gonna go to the Lions, which obviously was smoke. And I think it's interesting too, just talking about the Blake Miller thing for a second. I don't know if you saw it, but Proctor and Maui Noah are already slotted to play guard.
Correct.
Like, it's already come out. So you had Fano went to the Browns, which great. I love what the Browns did. Crazy to say that, but trade down, still get a really good offensive tackle. And then Maui Noah, Proctor go. So they're playing guard. Technically, Blake Miller, can you say Blake Miller is technically a OT number 2? Is that fair to say? Scotty, you went on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, 100%. I would say it's, since those other two guys are playing guard, at least right off the bat. Yeah, Blake Miller in this draft. The choice at 17, I would say, really kind of boiled down to, I think, Miller versus Monroe Freeling. And I think they're both two really intrigued. Like the case study between looking at those two is interesting to me, because Blake Miller is the guy started 53 games or over 50 games over a course of a 4-year college career. Monroe Freeling started barely a full season, 11, 12, maybe appeared in 15 games or whatever, where you look at, and it was the classic, like, oh, Blake Miller's the floor guy and then Monroe Freeling's the ceiling guy. But I don't necessarily buy that, because Blake Miller's athletic, like RAS score is 99th percentile for the position as well. He's one of like the top, like, I think it was like 22nd out of, over 1,000 tackle prospects over the last 30 plus years, or, however they calculate.
9.91. I got to pull it up right now. 9.91.
So RAS. Over it's looking at Blake Miller, and it kind of bothered me that it's like, oh, Monroe Freeling's the ceiling play, Blake Miller's just the safer floor play. I don't see why we're not talking about Blake Miller in terms of is on the ascension. He's gotten better every single year at Clemson. Like, he improved freshman year, sophomore year, junior year to senior year. The athleticism's there. He's proven it. Like, I think in hindsight's 2020, but you almost, it's like, of course Blake Miller is going to be the pick over Monroe Freeling. He's proven it. He also has the athleticism. He has the upside. The character's there. He was a captain. There's some cool stories that have come out too about Blake Miller, where he showed up on day one freshman year. They were like kind of just running drills this is at Clemson, and they're running, hey, the left tackle line was like 8 people deep. The right tackle line was like 3 or 4 people deep. So he just jumped into that one. He's like, yeah, it's the shorter line. It gives me the quickest spot to play. And then I believe it was his freshman year, the right tackle went to the coaching staff, the existing one, I think he was a junior at the time, said, move me to guard. Like, you got to play this kid. Like, he's a stud. Came in as a true freshman, started, there for 4 years. Iron Man, missed one practice. And like, to this day says it bothered him like crazy that he had to miss one practice, and, played in a meaningless bowl game this past year. I mean,
culture fit, meaningless bowl game start, culture fit.
There's just so many, again, hindsight is 2020, but it's like, of course the Lions were zoned in on Blake Miller, and Colton called this back in February. Shout out Colton Pouncey. He's the man.
The GOAT.
He was all over it. He was all over it over 2 months ago. So it's awesome, and you slot him in right at right tackle. He's going to be a guy, and he got the Taylor Decker comp from multiple people, including Dane Brugler. It feels like this is going to be someone, maybe not like all pro gold jacket Hall of Fame, but he's just going to be steady, like consistent, for a couple years. Maybe he'll make a couple Pro Bowls. I see it as just such a solid, again, double off the wall. Ozzie Newsome, former Ravens GM. That's the motto. That is exactly what we just did there. And it fortifies that offensive line. Borum becomes depth. Manu becomes even farther down the depth chart, which is a bummer, but there's just you're less reliant on a Larry Borum like breakout, or he's the swing tackle, which is great. That's a perfect role for someone like him. I think you improved the skipper position. You improved, I would even say, with the way Decker's shoulder is and his age, I think you've improved a tackle position. Panay, we'll see how Panay transitions to left tackle, but there's no doubt in my mind he'll be great there. So
I mean, I think you got a younger, more athletic version of Taylor Decker with less wear on his body that has a ton of experience and is going to be the starting right tackle from day one. And just the difference between, you know, again, it's May 6th, right? A lot can happen, but you go from, you know, an oft-injured Decker at left last year, Mahogany, Frazier, you know, rotating door at left guard, Glasgow at center, a rookie Tate Ratledge at right guard, and Panay at right tackle, to Panay at left. You know, I think we're all banking on that happening. A healthy Mahogany, or, you know, Frazier or Ben Barch, my boy, with a battle at left guard. Cade Mays, you know, who you think's an upgrade over Glasgow. Year 2, Tate Ratledge and Blake. You know, I think that O-line, it's night and day from what it was last year. And, you know, I said on previous episodes that to me was the biggest issue, is that we just not have the same O-line that we were accustomed to the previous 2 years. And I'm not saying we're going to get back to maybe that 2023 level, because that was insane. You had Ragnow and Sewell and a healthier Decker, but I think you can get close. I think you can get top 10 in the league, you know, no question. And we've seen what Goff can do with clean pockets. We've seen what Gibbs can do with a little bit of space. And I'm excited. I'm really excited about this pick. I do love that they didn't trade up. Thank God. I would not have been into that either in the first round. And they stood pat. They got a guy who they seemingly love, who can play right away at a position of need. Like, what more could you ask for your first round pick?
It's plug and play day one. I'm just over on here, my other screen. I've got the beast pulled up. Dane Brugler, birthday, February 25th, 2004. That's my birthday. I just learned that right now. So Blake Miller and Scott, happy birthday to both of us. Same day. That's huge.
Hopefully we'll be celebrating a Super Bowl and both of your birthdays on this podcast.
Yes.
Right. Late February, we'll be basking in the glory of a Super Bowl just a few weeks prior. So
heck yeah.
It's an awesome pick. I think it's a total just, you know, slam dunk, very solid. It's just that I'm very, very happy with it. I'm very glad they didn't go rogue and take a corner, take a linebacker. It's just that made sense, and it's a great pick. It's a great pick.
Solidifies that O-line, and like you said, dude, it now makes that Borum signing make a lot more sense. The depth is there. The depth is there, and that was an issue last year too. Like we didn't have that. We didn't have a great starting O-line that I think we were confident in, and then we definitely didn't have depth. So it's exciting. It's an exciting. It's not sexy, but it's an exciting pick.
Not to derail you, boys, and I stepped away to use the bathroom, but was there anybody on the board at 17 that you're like, damn, I wish we could have got him?
The one would be Akeem Mesidor. I mean, I was banging his drum.
We love Mesidor. Yeah.
Multiple picks. That would have been another one where I just would be super thrilled, but not really. Outside of Mesidor, nothing for me. Ruben Bain slid to 15. He was almost there for us.
That's the one I was gonna say. If Bain was still there, then yeah. I wanted Vega. He went 14th though, so wasn't there. So no, really not anyone that it's like, dang it, we missed out on this guy. You know, I think for where we were at and what the board did, it was a great pick.
Yeah.
I mean, 17 can't be like an ideal slot either. You know, I mean, the coveted guys have fallen. I mean, based on everything you guys said, seems like it was a knockout pick. Great pick.
Yeah, I think Blake Miller is just Lions fans should be. The offensive line is going to look a lot better this year. We've improved in multiple spots, and that's going to be huge for the offense. Just maintaining possession, keeping the ball, holding a lead. Last year we couldn't bully the way we wanted to, and we just control clock and just bleed teams, kind of just put your step on the neck and choke them out. We couldn't do that. That was a style that.
Let's not forget Petzing. Let's not forget we've got an OC too that I think we're all pretty excited about. Where, some of these run fits that he can do with, not only Panay but Blake and Tate's a very good athlete as well. Can definitely have some fun with a couple of those guys.
Yeah,
and a little behind the scenes magic for the Motor City Ball Knower audience. I knew no one on this draft board besides Fernando Mendoza when we got into it. So it just goes to show I learned a lot doing the beast with these boys. So really pay attention to Scott and Hesser.
The beast is a beast. It's good stuff.
Is a beast. It's in Petzing, JD. That's a good thing to keep reminding everyone of, is that the brains of the operation, the creator, the guy who's scheming up and drawing up plays and putting the game plans together. That's going to be an undoubted improvement from what we just had to deal with last year with my boy Johnny Moe, my freaking boy. So, we just talked a lot of offense, talking O-line, and I think that the unit that I know I've harped on is the defense, specifically edge rusher. I've been talking about this since the birth of Motor City Ball Knowers episode 1. We got to get this pass rush right. So I think it's a good transition. We can get into the Michigan man, Derek Moore, second round.
Derek Moore, interesting. So interesting situation here. Move up 6 spots from 50 to 44. The smoke coming out of draft night is that Baltimore, who was sitting at 45, was pretty enamored with Derek Moore. Jesse Minter, their new head coach. Derek Moore is defensive coordinator in college. There's some ties. Derek Moore is from Baltimore. Makes sense. You never know what these teams are going to do, but definitely seems to be that there was some smoke there. Just like the Holmes trade up smoke coming out of the draft. You always hear about these things that happen behind the scenes.
I'm pretty sure Minter's brought over Moore's defensive line coach at Michigan, I think, is now on the Baltimore staff. So it's not just Minter. It's other guys that are even closer sometimes one-on-one with these players. So it makes total sense.
It makes sense. And you see what they did. The very next pick, they take Zion Young, an edge, rusher who probably isn't as refined right now as a pass rusher compared to Derek Moore, compared to our guy. But, Scott, I said to you offline, if the Lions go tackle edge with those first 2 picks, I don't care what they do the rest of the draft. I'm happy. Don't care who the players are, because I felt like tackle at 17, there was going to be someone good that I could get excited about. And edge at 44, there was going to be someone good that I could get excited about, because this draft had depth at both of those spots. Derek Moore is it's an intriguing pick. I think there's a lot of upside there. I loved his the stat I loved the most was his pass rush win rate at U of M was up there. I think it was top 10 in the nation at 17.5%. And I don't think he has a lot of wear and tear on his tires. I don't think he got a ton of snaps. I think, if I'm remembering correctly from my research, pretty heavy rotation at U of M with him in there. So I like that too, where you got a guy who has some fresh legs and has a skill set that we needed. Sounds like the bull rush is definitely his move. He's a power guy, and maybe he can develop a little finesse along the way, and also has some run stopping ability too. So I think the vision is clearly you signed Wanham to be that kind of early down guy. And when I want everyone to just be aware, like when they do the player intros and they announce the defense, Derek Moore is not going to be a starter. It's going to be Hutch and Wanham. But Moore throughout the season, I fully expect to, as the season goes on, log more starter, minutes and more snaps than Wanham. But I think that's going to take a little bit of time. I'll say it again. I love that they took an edge rusher.
Yep.
And I think Moore, again, another pick I think that makes sense. Now, trade up. So I'm gonna pass over to you now, Scotty, because we know how you feel about that. We traded that extra pick that we got from the David Montgomery trade to move up to this spot. It doesn't bother me because this draft in particular, like we just said, there didn't seem to be a ton of depth past the top 90 guys.
Yeah.
So I'm not super upset about it. If Holmes felt like, hey, Derek Moore is the best edge on our board, going into day 2, and I'm pretty sure that's what they said, then I'm gonna trust them.
The structure of the deal, not sacrificing any future draft capital, I'll say maybe he did learn a lesson that, the Isaac Tesla deal last year, you trade away 2 third-rounders. And maybe that was also you're forecasting that they knew that the 2026 class wasn't going to be strong, so they were okay dealing up for Tesla. That we don't need to harp on that. That's last year. But the trade up, again, I just don't love trade ups in general. However, if you do have a strong inkling that Baltimore's taking him there and that's your guy, that's the player that you've scouted and done the research on, and that's your handpicked choice, and that's the one you want, then it's okay. And they took, again, I'm happy they took an edge rusher. I'm happy they took one that has like pass rush ability and has like showcased it. I actually just have the beast pulled up. He registered a pressure on 17.5%. So you nailed the percentage there of his pass rush snaps. That's number 1 in the Big Ten. So top in the conference, and then 17th overall in the entire FBS. So he can get there. And JD, if you don't, I'll remind you, he was one of the first players that we sent back and forth tape in our private text messages.
Yeah.
It was at the Senior Bowl in January. He's got the clip. It was Markel Bell, the 6'9", 370-pound dude from Miami. They go they have the one-on-one drills. He just absolutely clotheslined him. If we can get that clip pulled up, if there's any way we can find that and get that over for Tim to put on screen, it is impressive. And I remember, I think I just texted you and I just said I think we need to look into this guy. This might be
Tim. I'm sending you the link.
It is unbelievable. And then I saw someone that put together a tweet. It's like the meme of run through a motherfucker's face, and it was like the caption was Derek Moore's pass rush plan.
Yeah.
And the meme of just run through a motherfucker's face. So that's his thing. I think it's so hard to project these players. And I think that's the whole thing of why I'm the NFL draft is let's watch the clip here first. And Markel Bell is huge.
6'9", 360, you said?
Yeah, something. Yeah. He's 6'9". I don't know if he had the weight, but he's just, yeah. So that clip.
So Moore seems like a nasty dude. And think about too the situation that Moore and Wanham. I want to bring back Wanham up for a second, but you're going opposite Hutch, who's just commands so much attention, double teams, chips, everything. Defense is gonna, an offense is gonna do everything to make sure that he's not gonna beat him. I was listening to the Lions Collective. I think J. Raj brought it up. When Wanham was playing for the Vikings opposite Danielle Hunter, he had a couple of 8.5, 9 sack seasons, just cleaning stuff up, because Danielle Hunter was wreaking havoc. So we don't need these guys. We don't need Derek Moore to be all pro. We need him to be solid, good technique, disciplined, and clean up the pile when Hutch is doing his thing.
And by all accounts, it's 21 career sacks over the course of a 4-year career. That's impressive. The production, guys that don't get sacks in college, it very rarely translates into sacks in the NFL. So 21 career sacks, that's 8th most in Michigan history. I think looking at him too, he's physical. He's big enough he can play the run. He's not just a pure pass rusher, which we can talk about how, but that's the Lions. That's the type of edge they target. Someone that can do both. He can win, but it's nice that he does have those pass rushing chops. And I'm happy they didn't take a guy who's like maybe 8 or 9 career sacks. And it's like, it's all about like, oh, we project him to maybe if he refines these skills. The one thing in terms of like, oh, the bull rush is his move, I think that's just going to be harder to execute in the NFL with the caliber of offensive tackle that's there and the size and strength. I think it's much easier to do in college. So I think that's something where coach him up and he's got to learn some counter moves and being able to find other ways to get there and get wins. But like you said, the attention's going to be on the other side of the line. When Derek Moore's lined up opposite Hutch, even Aleem, if Aleem gets himself back to, the boy he was playing in 23 and 24, Derek Moore's an afterthought. And
Tyleek maybe taking a step.
For sure. So
Levi, I mean, I know it's such a wild card, but the 1 year Levi was healthy, he was awesome, so you're banking on that. But quietly, that D line quietly, is we'll see. They need to prove it, but I think again, you look at that room today versus that room last year. Hey, it's an improvement.
Yeah, I completely agree. You're getting a guy. I'm glad they didn't wait to like take an edge in the 4th or 5th round, or they addressed it early. They got a guy who, at the very least, should be rotational, and he's out there giving you 30-40% of snaps. That's coming off the bat as a rookie, and again, there's development to be had there, and it's something I'm excited about because I want to keep investing on the trenches, man. We got to keep.
What I like is you don't like, he doesn't have to be incredible from day one. The development can happen and he can still make an impact too, just by virtue of playing opposite Hutch and probably getting somewhat limited snaps early on and being fresh and really making an impact. So we go Derek Moore, Michigan man, to Jimmy Rolder, Michigan man.
Jimmy.
Back to back U of M boys, and Rolder, a linebacker. Not a ton of tape on him. I think less than 1,000 career snaps. Played mostly this past year. That's where he got the bulk of his snaps. And I think, this pick is, I think this pick is one where you're kind of hoping that there is some upside there and he could maybe turn into, a better version of a Rodrigo somewhere down the line. But I think from the jump, it's probably a special teams guy right off the bat. And then if he can develop into someone that you can give meaningful snaps in an NFL game at linebacker, that's just an added bonus. But I'm not banking on that with Rolder.
Yeah, I'm agreeing, full agreement there. I think in this draft class, especially as we alluded to, somewhere between 70 and 90, like potential, like real contributors that are, starting on your offense or your defense. You kind of can look in a draft class that's weaker and thinner and say, okay, when we get to late round 4, I kind of just want to find like maybe a niche piece or something. And I think Jimmy Rolder, there's a really cool clip of him from the Rose Bowl on kick coverage, which is, it's funny. It was a clip. It's like kind of obsolete now that we don't do the kickoffs the way that, in the NFL, they don't run kickoffs full down the field, but he just absolutely, like, the blocker, he just fully brings the blocker into the returner and just blows up the entire return for Alabama in the Rose Bowl 2 years ago. So it was a good play. I think special teams, targeting a niche special teams guy, that's, again, the special teams unit took a step back last year.
Yeah.
So big time step
after being top 5 in the league, I think the previous 2 years.
Right. So if this is a guy who you have like earmarked and pegged for a specific role on special teams.
Scott, special teams lost us that first Vikings game.
Yeah. 100%. And special teams, people like to minimize it. They forget to bring it up, but it's like
I don't.
I know you don't. You've been a Braden Coombs guy from the get-go. Now you've transitioned into you're a Dave Phipp guy. So I want to shout out a fellow Michigan man here. He's been clamoring for this shout out. He's been kind of complaining about it, but I'll indulge him. Jake Plotnick, close friend of the show. He texted me immediately on Saturday, April 25th, 1:10 p.m. says, "Don't love the Rolder pick." Jimmy Rolder, Michigan linebacker, and I said, "Hey, what's the scout? You're a big Michigan fan." I'll go verbatim here. Always was injured, was a reliable linebacker at the college level when healthy, but always kind of seemed like just a guy, but with some flashes when he was out there. Might have some upside because he was focused on baseball in high school and was always injured in college, but TBD. So yeah, Jimmy Rolder was a big baseball guy. I think he had a scholarship.
Get him on the Tigers.
I know, right? We need bodies at this point. I think it's totally the thing with Rolder. If he turns in, like you said, JD, if he turns into a defensive contributor, then like the pick's an absolute like home run. Yeah. It's not to use that verbiage, but it's like right now, all we really need out of him is just like you're a contributor on special teams, maybe some spot, like you can start or, come in as an injury backup. But there was, I want to say it was the Jeremy Reisman Pride of Detroit podcast. He brought up Michigan had him playing like Sam, like edge setting for a couple games. Sam linebacker, and he has the body to do it. He's like 6'2.5", 238. So they had him like playing like kind of like the role that the Lions kept trying to get Derek Barnes, like a misfit. They kept trying to like put Derek Barnes into this role that he just isn't.
Isn't that like what they had Nowaski do a lot too?
Yeah. So I think
Pat McKenzie is big Nowaski guy.
Yeah. Is he Did Nowaski play at Western?
He's Saginaw.
Saginaw
Valley.
You're right. So
Saginaw.
I could see Rolder. Maybe they try to, and I don't know how the defense is going to schematically put things together this year, but maybe that's something where he's versatile and they can say, okay, we're going to have you come set an edge, maybe, do a little blitz with you. And, that again, I think they've kind of miscast Derek Barnes into that role. They tried it. And I think now they're going to bring him back. Derek Barnes is going to fill the Anzalone spot, which are huge shoes to fill. So I wonder if they kind of envision something like that for Rolder too, because I think early on in the Michigan season last year, Rolder was kind of playing down on the line a little bit, edge setting, and then they moved him mostly to off ball for the rest of the season. But I thought that was an interesting tidbit. So shout out Jeremy Reisman for bringing that up. So
this one's for plotters. I'm okay with the Rolder and Moore pick on one condition. The maize and blue stays at Ann Arbor. You wear the Honolulu blue now.
Yep. Honolulu blue on Sundays.
Yes, sir. I was getting a little annoyed with like the Lions social media team, like really leaning into that. I get it. You got to get clicks and engagement, and a lot of your fan base is Michigan anyway, but I don't know. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I don't need any more Michigan pop propaganda where
I agree, Scott.
So we're on the same. I know we're all on the same page there, but a thought experiment. I want to move on to our next pick. I think we've covered Jimmy Rolder enough, and these later round picks, I don't think we need to go super in depth on. Again, we don't really know if they'll even contribute really at the NFL level. Let's bring up Keith Abney, the round 5 pick. The thought exercise that a lot of Lions fans did.
Bring him up.
Let's bring him up. The thought experiment that a lot of Lions fans did. This was 3 years ago in the 2023 draft when. Kind of the controversy was surrounding Jameer and Jack Campbell round 1, but then you go get Laporta and Brian Branch, who slipped much farther beyond where he was projected to go. People said, just pretend that Brian Branch was pick 18 and that Jack Campbell was the second round pick, and just pretend. So we can almost do that now where it's like, okay, just pretend Jimmy Rolder was round 5 and Keith Abney was round 4, because a lot of boards had Keith Abney in the top 70, top 80. He was a round 2-3 grade from Brugler and the Beast.
Yeah.
CB9. Yeah. Second to third round grade. I think he was Daniel Jeremiah had him top 60 or top 70 on his.
I think Jeremiah had him like 61. So
right, like fringe second, like a late second rounder. So quick, just quick notes on him. He's undersized. Played at Arizona State corner. He's a guy, but he was at Arizona State. He was constantly taking. They played a lot of zone, but then when they would go to man, it would be Abney taking on the number one receiver, press man, and he's undersized, so that shows he's got the the mental makeup, the ability to go and be like, I'm going to take on your number one receiver. And I think it's an awesome pick again, because it's like this guy on consensus boards wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this in the 5th round. So I'm excited for Abney, and I think he's going to contend at nickel due to that size. I think that just puts more pressure on Ennis Rakestraw, puts, just more competition with Roger McCreary. I think it's just another great piece to the room, and also willing special teams guy, played it at Arizona State. So again,
shoot, I'm bigger than Abney.
Yeah, he's physical though, dude. He's his play style is he's one of his strength is the physicality. Right here on Brugler's, missed tackles are rare on tape. So
he's 5'9", $180.
But despite the size, it doesn't show up in terms of he's not missing tackles. I think it's great. Durable, finished his career with 26 straight starts. I'm excited for Keith Abney, and that's
seems like a dog, like just one of those like dog picks, undersized, making plays. The stat I love the most about him, and I might not get the numbers exactly right, but on and this was another J Raj, shout out J Raj, big J Raj shout out today, but on slant routes that he covered like from the slot last year, I think quarterbacks it was like 2 for 14 or 3 for 15 or something, like those quick routes on like a 3rd and short or whatever. He was just erasing those, and to have a guy that can do that now, that needs to translate into the league. But you have a guy that can do that, I think that's huge for your defense. And I love what you said, Scott. The competition, at nickel, you've got 3 guys. You have a former 2nd round pick. You've got McCreary, who I think was a former 1st round pick, and then you've got
late 1st or early 2nd. Yeah, but I think he was early 2nd. But
so you've got 3 guys who, and McCreary's on a 1-year deal. Rakestraw hasn't proved anything. Abney's a rookie. That's gonna be a battle in camp that might be the most fun to watch play out. And that was a big role for the Lions defense, a Meek. And really, I mean, all defenses in the NFL now, as they shift to more nickel, kind of being the base defense, you got to have someone that can cover I think in the slot.
And Abney's, again, it's another body, more depth in the secondary. I think it points to, and we've discussed this, it points to, we're going to do less base 4-3. We ran it the most out of all 32 teams by like a long shot last year, as we've discussed. So I think it points to more nickel, which is modern. That's what teams are doing, because offenses are running more 3 receiver sets. They're putting, and there's tight ends that are just insanely athletic that linebackers can't cover. They're not fast enough. So you can kind of match that, at least match the speed with some of these like corner nickel safety guys that are, again, you don't necessarily have that bulk, but I think it provides you more speed. You can cover more of the field, just with general athleticism out there. And I think that I would be surprised if we're first in base 4-3.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. And just to close the loop on this pick, there were a few draft guys that follow this stuff, for a living, that said Abney was the pick of the day, the day 3 steal. And day
Holmes,
3.
Holmes said it himself. Holmes, sorry to cut you up, but Holmes said it himself. He goes, I'm pretty sure they were deciding between Rolder and Abney in the 4th round. And when they got to the 5th round and their pick was coming up, they get, wait, Abney's still available?
Yeah.
Oh God, like let's go.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think great value based on his pre-draft ranking, and we'll see if he can do something. But I'm excited. That might be the pick that I'm most excited about what that could be. Down the line. So we got a couple more guys. Kendrick Law.
Another round 5. Yeah. The second round 5 pick.
This dude, fun stat on him, he had 536 receiving yards last year, and 501 came after the catch. So pretty wild, pretty wild to think about that. Does he have a role in this offense that we will see about that? I think people forget about Dominic Lovett, which no disrespect to Dominic Lovett, it's easy to forget with the wide receiver crew that we have. Lovett was a late pick last year. I think Law and Lovett probably compete for that wide receiver 5 spot, along with Tom Kennedy, who the org loves. And I love. Shout out Tom Kennedy. Lacks God.
Tom Kennedy just will not go away. Not that I want him to. I'm just he's dude, always around, man.
When Saint got hurt in the Thanksgiving game, he had some huge plays.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'll say about Law that I've seen out there is like absolute beast blocker, like very good blocking wide receiver, which we know the Lions value a lot. So
big time. He started his career. Yeah, he was 4-star recruit, played at Alabama, transferred to Kentucky. A guy that covered the SEC said he was the best run blocking wide receiver since. There you go. Shout out Tom Kennedy.
Farmingdale, New York, baby. That's
Long Island. That's Long Island. That's Long Island, right? So best run blocking wide receiver since Hines Ward was a guy who covers the SEC, brought that up. He's going to be, as you mentioned, it's yards after the catch in the screen game. He's a 9.6 RAS score, speeds his game, yards after the catch. I think him and Greg Dortch will be a fun competition for the return game.
Yep.
I think that's where we're going to see.
Pretty crowded receiver room, eh?
Little bit, yeah. I think that room came together pretty nicely. The Dortch pickup was sneaky.
I like Dortch.
A nice one. And I think Dortch, Law, and Lovett all kind of have the same game as Khalif. So you think one of them probably steps into that role. And we'll see. Yeah, I mean, fifth round pick, and we already got 3 pretty bona fide, solidified dudes in front of him at receiver. And if he's playing a lot, that probably means someone is hurt, which wouldn't be good. But hey, who knows? Maybe he kills it and they have to get him on the field.
I'm seeing he broke 3 national records as a track athlete growing up. So
did we? Who was Abney the roller skating champion? Did we forget to mention that?
I don't know.
According to my Google calculations, Keith Abney the second skating. That's awesome. Hold on.
Yeah, we might have to revert back.
Competitive, high level competitive inline skating is Keith Abney the second.
Oh, this dude ain't no joke.
Keith Abney rocks.
That's incredible. I forgot about that. I did see that. Yeah, there we go.
Oh.
How does one get into that? Like that is such.
Is he like an Apollo Ono?
Wow, great poll.
It's a good nick. Could be the good nick. That could be a nick. We got to find a nickname for Keith Abney. We got to find something along those lines. You can get
the caption. The Detroit Lions got a 2-sport athlete. That's awesome.
Yes,
bro. Yes. He's like Brink.
Yeah.
Remember that Disney movie?
Oh, dude. Shout out Spencer Ike, who is a listener. Spencer Ike loves Brink.
It's a great movie.
It
was a roller skating movie, right?
Yeah. shredders.
Spence, Spence will have to give us a movie review.
That'll be a nice. We'll see. Law, man. Let's go, baby. Make the squad. And then last two picks. We'll wrap this up. No doubt, my favorite pick of this draft. This guy's story is unbelievable. The 6th rounder out of Texas Tech, which nasty defense. Skylar Gill Howard, big fella, gonna plug some holes. I think he gives us significant minutes this season. I really do. He has an awesome story, Scott. I'll let you share it, because I know you were all over that. But I love this pick, Sky Gill Howard.
Yeah, D2 walk on. So he was working as, like, I think, a FedEx driver or maybe DHL. Forgive me if I have the wrong company name, but he was doing delivery rides to fund his school as a Division II walk on, as a scout team linebacker. Gets over to Northern Illinois, and then moves down and ends his career at Texas Tech, starting on that defensive line. Yeah, so he was at Upper Iowa as a D2 in 2021.
Bama wanted him. With Tim, your Wisconsin Badgers wanted him badly. He was a pretty coveted portal guy.
Yeah, so he came in. He was just he didn't even start many games at Northern Illinois. He only started one game in 2024 at Northern Illinois. He was just kind of like a rotational defensive lineman, but obviously flashed 5 sacks as an interior defensive lineman, 8 tackles for loss in that season. So yeah, got portal attention, ends up at Texas Tech. Part of that nasty D-line, had a pick 6, the big fella. It's an awesome story. And something that I thought was really cool, he had a Detroit Tigers hat, I believe. And it was a Lions hat. Forgive me.
Yeah, it was like his dad or grandpa.
His grandpa.
His grandpa. He goes. They said, "Oh, did you have all the hats ready to go for the draft? You pick the one," because a lot of those guys, you get 32 hats and whichever team drafts. So he goes, "Oh, no. Like, my grandpa was just a fan of the Lions. This is the one hat I have, like the only hat." And it was like a cool, like, old school Detroit Lions hat from, like, the logos from decades ago. So it was like a cool, real vintage hat for Skylar Gill Howard. So I'm excited, dude. I think JD, I'm with you. He's undersized, but I think he's gonna play a role here because we can't trust. We know we can't rely on Levi. I think it's gonna be a fun pick that I think he makes the team and ends up playing 10 to 20 snaps a game. I think you don't want him to. If obviously you want Aleem and Tyleek to be kind of out there, but defensive line, you gotta be able to rotate guys in, right? So that's it. That's our guy.
There we go.
It's awesome. So
I love this. Al Karsten, one of our favorites as well, clipped up some nice tape of him, and the caption is, "Skylar Gill Howard did some silly things wrecking shop for NIU against Bowling Green in 2024."
That's good.
So you want guys that can wreck shop on your D line. So I love it. The great story, and I think sneaky position of need to that interior D line
for sure.
I have a suspicion that Skylar's head is bigger than his grandpa's, though.
Yeah, we'd love to get Skylar on the pod. So if we can find a way to make that happen,
we got to get him. If that's his only hat, we ought to get him another hat.
And then sticking our last pick, Tyree West, D lineman from Tennessee, 7th round pick. I don't have a whole lot, to be honest. All I know is he's got a unconventional, like, body type for an edge rusher, like shorter, stockier, longer arms. So we'll see. Maybe he's battling with, like, Hassanin and Peyton Turner for one of those roster spots in training camp, but we'll
see if he makes the team. We'll see if he makes the team. I think you can kind of put a guy in late round 7 at that point of the draft in the same bucket as undrafted free agents. It's very much like, hey, I think at that point of the draft, some of those guys are almost hoping they don't get drafted, so then they can kind of get their pick of, hey, I've got 3 or 4 teams calling me, then you kind of get a choice rather than being drafted so late. So that's something that I've always kind of found interesting. It's like, as you get to that point, it's not like there's any like real guaranteed money. At that point, the chances of you making the roster are definitely nowhere near 100. So we'll see. I think, SEC guy played a bunch of games across his 4-year career there at Tennessee. We'll see. Yeah, shorter, longer arms, kind of fits. It seems like he's kind of like the edge setting type run defender that the Lions target. But the NFL draft is such a fun thing, and I enjoyed watching. I didn't really watch much of Saturday, but Thursday fully dialed in, Friday completely dialed in, watched pretty much every pick of the two, round 2 and round 3 on Friday night, and have so much fun doing it. It's such a fun event, and I'm kind of sad it's over.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. The NFL really knows how to just dominate every month of the calendar. It's pretty impressive, and the draft is a big one. So I think the next big one, which is, I don't think we have an official date yet, but schedule release is going to be coming up soon. Don't know exactly when. It will be sometime in May. Usually it's mid-May, but last I checked, we didn't have an exact date. So one note I wanna make on the schedule. There have been a couple of these, NFL nerds that are super smart with the data who have come out with, who's got the hardest schedule, who's got the easiest schedule, and multiple reports on the Lions having the easiest schedule in the NFL in 2026, which that is significant. It is, like, say what you want.
Look at some of these: Jets, Titans, Giants, New Orleans, Miami.
I think the Giants are going to be actually better.
They played us tough last year.
They should have won that game. And now they have Harbaugh.
We talked about that on a previous show, but that schedule it's significant to have an easy schedule. Like it just is. It's the reality. And
the New England Patriots made the Super Bowl, and in large part they put themselves in a position to have the 2 seed. And
dude, the Pats.
Drake May's new nickname is the schedule.
I mean, Atlanta's tough too, man. I think they could be. They're a team on the rise.
Who plays quarterback for them, though? I don't know.
That's a good point.
Like, the Bills is tough. All 3 division road games are tough. Carolina won their division. So, like, it's not it's not a 17-0 schedule, but I think
big question is the North, man. Because you could say our schedule's easy, but the North is one of the toughest divisions.
Got to win those games, though. That's the biggest. Those 6 games are so important. That's getting the head-to-head tie. You get tiebreakers. You hand them a loss while giving yourself, vaulting yourself a win. It's just those 6 games every year. I mean, it's just they're so vast.
I think Chicago takes a step back too. I just
big
think
time.
Such a Mickey Mouse season, and
the turnover differential,
the schedule.
They have a harder schedule coming up here now. The turnover, they're going to have regression, I think.
Dude, they recovered onside kicks last year. Like, they had last-second wins.
They had a bunch. Their record in 1-score games was heavily skewed to.
I think they had the best field goal defense. Like, kickers just missed field goals against them. Like,
it's gonna be fun. I think an off-season topic.
Yeah.
In one of our off-season episodes will be maybe sometime in June or July when we're really looking for stuff. Is just kind of a full like NFC North breakdown, and I think that'll be a good episode, and we can really dig into these teams. And I think we should save the rest of the schedule talk for. I think our next episode, the schedule should be out. I think there isn't an official date yet. It's usually, like you said, I think it's like the 2nd week in May. But I've actually seen some stuff this week that like this it's technically, or it's rumored to be being delayed. So. Last year I was planning my bachelor party surrounding, an NFL Lions road game. So the NFL schedule release, we had like pinned on the calendars because we were going to go ahead and book an Airbnb right off the bat and get things moving off the schedule release. So we know the opponents. We don't know the order yet. I think we can go through game by game, on our next episode. Really break it down once we actually have the when and where, right? So
let's get a couple mailbags and then say sayonara.
Yeah, sounds good. But I definitely want to get a crap talking session on the NFC North teams on the calendar. That pumped me.
I know you got your boys up in Madison.
I got Bears and Packers to put on check. So
I've got a father that's a Vikings. We got to keep him in check too, right?
True.
So, we got to get him on.
We do have to get him on for a Vikings show. So
all right, got two questions from two great Motor City Ball Knower followers. First, from Aaron Weiss. What undrafted players do you think have a real shot of making the team?
So I'm going to start with Eric Hunter from Morgan State. He's a linebacker, ran a 4.48, I think, something along there. He's undersized, but can obviously fly. And again, we talked about linebacker. There's definitely some opportunity there, I think. But he'd be more of a special teams guy. The reason why I'm high on him is the director of operations for Morgan State tweeted out on April 26th, Eric Hunter signed a 3-year, $3 million contract with the Detroit Lions, including a $25,000 signing bonus, $175 guaranteed. I'm going off that. I'm going to trust the director of ops, the DOFO, the director of football operations, Gerald Huggins from Morgan State, that's true. And they signed this guy, which is rare to do that, but there's nothing out there conflicting that. So I'm going to go with that amongst the other reasons. Good athlete, could fill a role on special teams. And that's what I'm going with, Eric Hunter.
Yeah, I've seen some names there, or I've seen his name pop up a bunch. I don't know if it was from that Huggins tweet talking about the 3-year, $3 million deal, but I think the number there to focus on is the guaranteed. I think 175,000 guaranteed. That's a lot more than a lot of these other UDFAs get. I think some of them just get like invites to training camp. Essentially, you sign, but then it's like you get next to nothing guaranteed. So I think the money, like follow the money when you're looking at these guys. That's a big thing. That shows who the team at least like values, right? So I have two more names. I'll be quick with these. So it's Anthony Lucas, edge from USC. He was actually 5th round, 6th round grade. He was the 24th ranked edge on Brugler's board. He just fits that mold of what the Lions have. Again, there's not much like pass rush juice there, but it's all about like he's big, 6'5", longer, super long arms, over 34 inches, sets the edge, run defender, sturdy there, and formidable edge setting defender. And that's a name to keep an eye on. And then if you notice, we went through the whole draft. We didn't draft a tight end. And we talked about 2 weeks ago that look for the Lions to draft a tight end just because of the Laporta back. And, we've got 2 guys there, Tyler Conklin and Brock Wright, who are, they've been around the block. So, and they have and Brock Wright has his own injury history, right? So Miles Kitzelman from Tennessee, one of the slowest tight ends in the class, but also one of the best run blocking tight ends. So that's another name to keep an eye on. He also was at Alabama, transferred in conference to Tennessee, 6'5", 251. And that's someone, if he flashes in camp and, proves himself as a willing blocker, could also contribute on special teams. That's a guy, I think Miles Kitzelman is a guy to keep an eye on in terms of the tight end room is pretty thin. Besides, if Laporta, especially the name to keep an eye on is Laporta. If Laporta doesn't look right or is slow to return from the injury, then Kitzelman's odds of making the team just skyrocket. So,
thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Aaron. I'm going Freddie McGee the second. All right.
Yeah.
The third. He's the third. Freddie McGee the third. I think.
My bad. I screwed that up. Well,
McGee.
Keep up the great work on your golf gambling. This next question is from Silky Wilkie. Who will have more offensive and shout out, thank you, Matt. Who will have more offensive snaps this year? Isaac Tesla, Greg Dortch, or Kendrick Law?
Tesla for me. I think it's pretty clear there. We talked about Law. I think there's a chance he's on the practice squad for a good chunk of the season, and then Dortch fills more of that Khalif Raymond type of role, I think, which Khalif may have outsnapped Tesla last year, but I would hope the plan for a round three wide receiver that you traded up for is to get him more snaps. So I'm going to go Tesla.
Yeah, traded up a lot of draft capital for him. So yeah, I agree. It's got to be Tesla, but I do think Dortch plays a decent amount. Like he's shown some real ability to be like a slot weapon. He's not just a return guy. Greg Dortch has, if he was like a couple inches taller, Dortch would be like a guy that can catch
Hall of Fame,
like Jarvis. No, I was gonna say like a Jarvis Landry guy that catches.
Isn't Benson a big Greg Dortch guy? Doesn't Andrew Benson
Shout out Benson? Dortch? I will say, dude, I drafted him in fantasy. I drafted Greg Dortch in fantasy. I want to say 2 years ago. I put a buck or two on him. Didn't really pan out. I think he got hurt. Didn't do much for me. I think I dropped him. He was waiver wire fodder after a week or two. But if Benson loves Greg Dortch too, then let's get him on board. I think that's awesome. But I will say that the answer to the question is Tesla. He has to take a step up. There's no excuse for him not to catch 45, 50 balls, be a really big, and he was a red zone weapon already, right? But he needs to do more. He needs to be a middle of the field weapon, someone who takes some attention away from Amon-Ra and J-Mo, and just is another weapon for Goff, and someone who's reliable and isn't just flashing once or twice, every other week. He needs to be out there every week being a part of this offense.
Consistent.
He needs to be making a couple plays every single game rather than twice a month.
So 45, 50 catches, that's 3 a game. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, this is some of my finest statistician work yet. Isaac Tesla played 436 snaps last year in 2025. In 2024, Greg Dortch played 432. So
there you go.
Was that Dortch's career? That was Dortch's career high, I assume.
I didn't get that far.
And we also close out the episode going back to the Pistons, but and Lions. I think I love that Goff and Amon-Ra and Ja and J-Mo and like these guys, they're like at every game. It's awesome.
Sitting courtside, yeah.
Yeah, it's so sick.
Great moment for Detroit sports, man. They're all yeah.
Speaking of guys sitting courtside, they keep panning over to like Ben Wallace, Rip, and like Dwayne Casey, which I'm like, Dwayne Casey. It's funny that he's sitting there with them, but
I think Dwayne's a scout.
He played. He's on the team. He's part of the team. Yeah.
Is it part of the organization? Okay, I didn't know that. So I just find it funny though, where you see like Dwayne Casey and like Rips. It's always the same seat. It's like you have Ben on the left side, Rip in the middle, and Dwayne Casey.
And they're in deep conversation.
Rip and Dwayne are like chopping it up, like a little smile, chuckle. Ben Wallace is just
dude. He's
like angry, and we have some unsubstantiated, unconfirmed reports that he tried to square up our boy Peter Redabot at the Market North End and downtown Birmingham. Peter said he tried to square him up a couple of years ago. I guess Pete was maybe getting a little too close with his girl, with Ben's girl. So
what?
Wow.
Did you see? Yeah. So
you dropped a bombshell at an hour 19.
We saw Ben Wallace at EM, so right next door to Market, and Molly, my wife, went up to him, and he was with a lady, and she was like, "You were my favorite player growing up. Like I had the fro," and he he completely ignored her, and
the
lady was like, "This is great, this is hilarious," like, yeah, and he was just like,
like, he probably gets it so much, but like,
yeah,
I don't blame him necessarily. There's I got to do not while we're on the topic of Ben Wallace. I mean, he was my favorite player growing up too, in those those prime teams, and I was devastated when he signed with Chicago. I thought that was like the worst. That was like the worst news ever.
Remember he had those like remote control cars. No. Tim, look it up. Look it up.
All right.
But dude, we saw Ben Wallace. This is probably over 10 years ago. We were in college, early college, like late teens, early 20s. And we saw Ben Wallace at Townhouse in downtown Birmingham. And he's wearing a hat. It says like in big letters, like it says Big Ben in like the biggest letters. Like it's like a loud hat, right? And so we're sitting there, we finish our meal, we pay, and we're walking out. And we said, "Hey Ben, like we're big fans. We grew up watching you. You're one of our favorite guys. And, like you're a legend. Can we just grab a quick picture with you before we go?" And he goes, nah, I'm just trying to be low key tonight. It's like, dude, you can't wear a Big Ben hat that's like loud and the big bright lettering. And then tell us you want to be
maybe it was like just a tribute to the clock in England. Like he's big guy.
True. That's true ball knower activity that you knew about Ben Wallace's RC car collection.
Dude, my dad brought that up over the weekend. We were talking about it for some reason, and
sure,
it just triggered that thought. But
that's awesome.
the RC car collection.
That's amazing.
Did you know Ben Wallace had an insane RC car collection?
Well, dude, I want to get into all the tantalizing details of Pistons sightings, NBA sightings. And Scott, you remember Jason Capono. You've never let me forget that. Yeah.
Always.
Dude, Tim, when it's summertime and it's a little slower, we gotta tell the Richie Sexton story too.
Oh yeah. We'll do ball knower, ball player stories. That would be fun.
favorite run-ins with pro ballers. That'd be fun.
That'd be a great episode. Well,
yeah.
Any closing thoughts, guys?
I think just draft related. I'm happy. I'm not gonna do like a letter grade or anything like that because these guys haven't played an NFL snap. But I'm happy, and unless something crazy happens, I think the roster is pretty set. We'll go through it here, in the next couple of weeks, but I do like what they did this offseason. I like it a lot. And I'm always going to be a little more optimistic and a little more, I think, trusting of Holmes, but I think they plugged a ton of holes and they added some good pieces.
Agree. Yeah, it was a good draft, I think. Taking a tackle, getting the edge, as you mentioned, Jay, it was, if that's the way the path goes, whether it's edge at first round, offensive tackle, second round, vice versa, those are the first two picks, then we can't complain. And that's what they did. I think they executed a good draft. We'll see what we get from, any of these later round guys. If one or two of them turn into contributors, then that's a big fat W. So, I'm excited. I think this is going to, again, with the schedule, with the youth movement off season, I think the team's going to look a lot different. It's going to look a lot different. A lot of those mainstays are gone. Guys that have been on this team for 3, 4, 5 years have moved on, signed elsewhere, signed big deals, longer term deals elsewhere. And there's some new guys. There are going to be some new faces, and I'm excited to see what we've got. And, it's just, we're kind of reaching that point now in the off season. It's going to be a little quiet. Schedule release here in a week or two. And then, we're going to have some good content for you guys coming forward. And before we know it, the season's going to be here. Training camp's going to be here, and it's going to fly by.
Yeah. I'm going to give him a B+.
That's fine.
All right.
Giving him a grade to a test that hasn't even been taken yet. I love it. So no, it'll be fun. Shout out Pistons, get it done against the the Cavs. I'd love a rematch with the Knicks. That
my
series
God.
was so fun.
Take care of business. Take care of
business here. And then Tigers, man, I don't know what's going on there. I can't.
Not good.
It's not. The vibes are low. The vibes are low.
Yeah. Well, that concludes the 5th episode, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.